you. I've showed there an overview of our integral Kumusha, and Kumusha is a Shona word for homestead. And I'm going to share with you as part of the presentation with Alexander and the rest of the Home for Humanity team, how we are working and regenerating our communities in an integral way. The integral Kumusha is a homestead that is working towards building an integral community. We're developing an integral community, and the integral homestead or the integral Kumusha was commissioned as a national role model on 8 December last year. It is also part of the Home for Humanity, and we have participated together on the St. Gallen University program, the pathway, pioneering pathway, which is focusing at plenary regeneration, also working closely with Pax Herbal on the transfer in Africa, which is run through the university. And the integral way is very much related to the economic system at SECAM, the economy of love, because we also support oneness and brotherliness. So we together as Homes for Humanity are focusing at building home on earth. Just to give a background and understanding of the Zimbabwean context, the reason or the rationale of coming up with the integral Kumusha is that the rural population constitutes 70% of the Zimbabwean population. However, the major challenges in these rural communities are poverty, hunger, and marginalization. And self-sufficiency is very, very low. And as such, the critical questions we have been looking at are how do we move from this poverty trap within the rural communities? And what sort of legacy or Naka in Shona are we leaving for future generations? And how can we restore and preserve and create a great legacy for future generations? So these have been the three questions that have been guiding our development of the integral Kumusha. So there is actually was a need for a new socio-economic model, which is underpinned by an African indigenous traditional values, blend, of course, with exogenous knowledge. From a micro perspective, the integral Kumusha is an African home-based community enterprise, which is driving towards achieving self-sufficiency, both at homestead level and community level. And it incorporates all the 4 key areas of the integral development approach, which include nature, culture, technology, and enterprise. And at a macro level, we are looking at an integral and legacy-based economic system, which is supported by a very strong relationship, progressive stewardship, and teamwork through transdisciplinary approach, and also wealth creation. As such, our focus has been for us to change our narrative from poverty to prosperity, And for the Integral Kumusha, has been a journey towards a social responsible society. And anchored, of course, as I have said, the integral development and the four worlds approach as espoused by Lesam and Schiffer. And as a research, we followed the Eastern path of renewal, the becoming. And at the center of our integral approach is the African Ubuntu or Shona values, which emphasize togetherness, they emphasize brotherliness and oneness and interdependence. And looking from the southern perspective is our local grounding in nature and community. And our local global emergence, which is the eastern part, is the culture and spirituality, and then the new global emancipation in science and through science and technology, and then the Western enterprise and economics perspective. So in developing Integral Kumusha and what is happening now, this is how we are structured. At a local grounding in nature and community, we have started with what the analogy that we find in the Bible that says, what is it that is available? It's like when Jesus Christ said, feed these 5,000 people. And the disciples said, we don't have anything. And he said, what is it that you have? They had 5 loaves and 2 fish. And we are saying what we have in the rural community in developing the Integral Kumusha is the traditional homesteads and the land. And from the traditional homestead, we have engaged the community in an area called Buhera, which is a very low rainfall area, and where people are only working and productive during the summer months, the 5 summer months, and the rest of the year they are not productive. Hence, there is a lot of poverty and hunger in that area, and people depend on donor syndrome. However, from the nature part of it, where the Integral Kumusha now uses the focus is mainly on agricultural activities, crops like the traditional crops. And now we are actually developing horticulture as well, livestock projects like poultry, rabbits, beekeeping, goat keeping, all to try and achieve self-sufficiency at a home level and at a community level, by thereby developing a harmonious ecosystem. And this has been achieved through what we call the learning community, working with the community and building each other. And from a cultural and spiritual perspective, the Integral Kumusha looks at the African values of Ubuntu and have now building rural tourism. As you can see on that picture that has been put there, where we have the traditional leaders there, all taking an approach to understand and participate in coming up with solutions within the community. And hence, we also value now our traditional language, poetry, and dance. And people have started now coming to the Integral Kumusha as part of the rural tourism that we are promoting. In the knowledge space and leveraging on science and technology, we are working solely on what nature provides us. We have plenty of sunshine, so we use our energy from the sun. So we have renewable energy, and we actually then now have drilled boreholes so that we can have water, and we do drip irrigation in order to conserve our water. and co-create knowledge within the community and at a homestead level and at a community level in order to build more knowledge through research and also field tours, field visits, and also what we have termed the look, see, and learn approach, where we put demonstrations and people can come and see. And on the technology side, we have also now installed internet at the Integral Kumusha. As I speak now, I'm speaking from the Integral Kumusha, and our drive is to develop smart homes which lead into integral communities as part of transition towards social responsible societies. And in developing the knowledge base, the Integral Kumusha has been allocated sessions through the radio, national radio and national television to share the values and how to develop Integral Kumusha and what we can get. And we also now are talking of processing using machines and adding value to our products and working on the brand that we call My Chimuti. My means mother. And for us, the mother is the anchor of the home. That's why we are stressing on the woman and the home. And on an embodiment, or the Western part is, we now have converted the Integral Kumusha to become a business. All those products that are produced and also processed are sold to the community, among the community, and beyond the community. Therefore, we are now generating income from the produce. Instead of for consumption, we are now practicing business principles to enhance livelihoods and for people to be well improved, their lives to be improved. So the impact of the Integral Kumusha and its benefit is that it's promoting self-sufficiency, and it's also creating employment, especially for the youth and the women. And at the same time, the villages or the rural villages have now been turned into smaller economic zones. And we are now creating value through value addition and also driving towards harmonizing the entire ecosystem so that we bridge the urban-rural divide and become part and parcel of the national socioeconomic development, which also would give us the anchor and the ability for us to be part of the global village. These are some of the partnerships that we have at the Integral Kumusha. At a local level, we're working with facilities like the Murambinda Community Network and Zimbabwe Community Network. This is to promote networking within communities, to promote people to share knowledge, and also administrators, and to work with the corporates that are within the Buhera, and to allow exchange of information between districts, and working with schools, colleges, and universities. So far, we have a lot of researchers and research being conducted at the Integral Kumusha and within the Ministry of ICT, Postal and Courier Service, and Ministry of Agriculture. This is all opening up opportunities for collaboration, for development in an integral way. And on a global basis, as Alexander has put it very clearly, we are part of the Home for Humanity, and we work closely, as I've indicated, with Pax Herbal and also SECAM in Egypt and other parts and homes for humanity in promoting planetary regeneration. So in conclusion, our focus is moving from poverty to prosperity. And the Integral Kumusha provides an opportunity where we look at all the aspects of the integral development approach, from nature and community, culture and spirituality, knowledge, science and technology, and also enterprise and economics. And from a macro perspective, our Nhakanomics, which is an economic system that is anchored on legacy and integrality, focuses from the South on relationship, progressive stewardship on the East, and team building, and as we build knowledge, and also ownership and co-creation of knowledge at individual and at community level. The Integral Kumusha, as we view it, is a vehicle for global integration and towards helping towards a socially responsible society, which is what we aim at as creating a legacy for future generations. And we see the integral global community being inclusive, moving towards prosperity for everyone. And the Integral Slovenia and Europe helps to promote that inclusivity, the diversity, and the peace and harmony. I know you have current challenges now in Ukraine, but we, from where we stand, you have been on this journey for a long time, and we look up to Slovenia and Europe also to be hand-holding and collaborating with the Integral Kumusha and the Global South in building that transformation journey towards a socially responsible society. And as I have said also, the Integral Kumusha is also bridging the divides between the rural and the urban, the poor and the rich, tradition and modernity, gender, age, and the digital divide, thereby enhancing livelihoods and profiting the community and eventually the society. Hence, our focus is in building one home, one people, one earth for a great legacy for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daud Taranhike from Zimbabwe. I mean, who would have thought a simple homestead as an inspiration for a new economy, an inspiration also for global integration? I'm actually so tempted to open the floor for for questions and comments.
The question is the government of your country showing interest in your projects?
Yes, it is in a much bigger way. This is why last year, the Integral Kumusha was actually commissioned a rural homestead model, and we are actually afforded a time on national radio and national TV to talk about Kumusha and what we are doing. So yes, there is a lot of support from the government, and there is interest that is being generated even within the education system and universities too.
Great, thank you.